Hi, I'm Charity Stadenrouse, and I'm here with Inq-ITS. And I am joining you today so that I can do a quick demonstration of what it's like to log into Inq-ITS for the very first time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that I can walk you through this. So as a teacher, the first time you log in, you want to get to this sign up screen and you want to click on teacher account so you can create your account. If you use Google and Google Classroom, I highly recommend connecting to your Google account so that you can go ahead and push any activities straight out to your Google Class. So I am wanting to go ahead and input my information. You don't actually have to have a promotional code, and you can create an account. And then you'll be brought back here, and you want to sign in from here. And then once you're at this screen, you can go ahead and assign flower to your students, or you can assign ramp. I'm going to go in here and assign ramp. Now, if I want my students to have a bit of coaching or tutoring, I'm going to assign it with Rex. Or if I want it as a pure assessment, just to kind of get an idea of where they're at, I'm going to assign without Rex. Now, at this time, I'm going to need to, if I want access to more information, like I want to preview some labs, see, I can use these, but everything else is locked. So what I'm going to need to go ahead and do is to email someone at Inq-ITS, like, for example, myself, Charity Stoutenrouse, and you are welcome to email me, and I will get your account transferred over, and then you will be able to assign or preview anything. So let's go in here and find what it is we're looking for. So we're looking for forces and motion, and I'm going to go ahead and, because as a trial teacher, you have access to flower, ramp, and then one other topic lab. And I am going to go ahead and do forces and motion, and I want it with no pre and post test. And so I'm going to assign this. The pre and post test are multiple choice, and I just feel really stressed for time, so I'm actually not going to use those today. Just going to use the activities themselves and the actual investigations. Now, you can put all of your students into one assignment. Some teachers prefer to do that. I personally prefer to see my students broken out by their actual classes and then be able to assign these to my classes in Google Classroom. So I'm going to set up those activities. I'm going to assign them. Now I have my activities in here. So if I have students, I can click on them here and change their passwords. I can open up my reports. Once I have some student activity, I can open up my reports and get a look at their data. I can open up Inq Blotter, and I'm actually going to do that now. I don't have any students yet, but you always want to open this up before your students start working, because this works like a text message letting you know if students are struggling, but it's not going to work if it's not already open. So I want this open, so I'm going to start building in student alerts in there. And then if I needed to change my password, or if I needed to link my account to Google, I could do that here. There's a bunch of resources here, and if I ever have technical difficulties, you can click up here and need help. Now, I have my student codes, and literally it's this easy to get your students started with Inq-ITS. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a different window so that I can show you. You have your students, and if you log in, and if you use some sort of LMS, it's obviously a bit easier. So I'm going to have my students either connect. They would create an account over here. They can connect with Google Classroom, making that even easier. My students will log in. They're going to enter their code, and let's go. So, all right. So I'm pretending I'm a student here. I'm going to read through my introduction. Yes, I read my directions. Then let's check this out. Determine how the gravity of the planetary body impacts the force of the sled on the spring. So if I increase the time to the end of the rail, the massless sled will increase. There we go. And all right, so notice I didn't include Rex. I didn't include a tutor. This is purely an assessment. If I wanted to include Rex, Rex would have popped up and said, how about we have an independent variable, right? Let's make sure that we put an independent variable first rather than a dependent variable. And then we want to have a dependent variable at the end, right? We want to have what is it that's going to be impacted? We want that to be a dependent variable. And in this case, I used an independent variable there. So we would want to have Rex turned on if you want students to get assistance. If you want a pure assessment, where are my students right now? You leave Rex out. So I'm actually going to go back to my goal here in a minute, but I'm just going to be a student for a second. So let's run some trials. And what does Venus look like? Okay, I like the color purple. I want to see what Mars looks like. You know what? Okay. Now I think I'm just going to leave it on purple. I don't like it taking forever, so I'm just going to leave it at like this glass looking one. And I'm going to test my gravity. And I want to see what's going to happen here. Okay, I feel like I'm ready to move on. So then if and I'm just going to look back at my goal. If I increased the gravity of the planetary body, then the force of the sled on the spring increased. This was not related to my hypothesis. And this is my data. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click back over to see things from a teacher's point of view. So remember I opened my Inq blotter, which is my alerts for a teacher. So what I can do is I can click into here and imagine that I'm a teacher with a class full of students and I have my iPad or whatever out and I can see, I'll get this alert. And as I'm walking to that student, I can see that my student is on the goal, gravity and force of the sled on the spring. So that's what they need to be focusing on. But they've got their independent variable and their dependent variable mixed up. So as I'm walking towards this student, I can be thinking in my head, okay, what can I say to this student to help them get back to the goal and figure out what they want their independent variable to be and their dependent variable to be without just giving them the answer. So that's what I really like about Inq blotters. It tells me, A, who's studying, without them having to say anything to me. They don't have to raise their hand. I know that they're really struggling. And then the other thing is that I can walk over to them and kind of craft what I'm going to say to them before I get there. I don't have to get over there and say, "Whoa, what's going on?" I know what's happening before I even get over there. So I'm able to look at this information ahead of time. Then also, if we go back, I can look at my reports. So now this is only showing one student, but imagine I had 4 classes here. I would be able to see all of that data and be able to look at my different classes and see what those scores are and see some averages. Now what I can do is if I want to go ahead and click into a specific student, I can click in and I can look at a specific student and see what that student is struggling with. And then if I go back, I could look at my, I could pass this on to my next classes. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and show you a deeper example. So we're going to come here and we're going to talk about what Inq-ITS is. So Inq-ITS virtual labs are online performance-based assessments. So they have been crafted using National Science Foundation and Department of Education grants, totaling over $12 million, under Dr. Janice Gobert. She started at WPI and moved a few years ago to Rutgers University. So these are better than gold standard. There is significant efficacy data and research to support Inq-ITS. So when you are sitting down with your administrator and you're saying, I want to use Inq-ITS, what you're able to say is that you can get this data at your fingertips, right? You can get these text message like alerts to know who's struggling without those students needing to raise their hands. And you can get these reports, right? So you can look at your student growth data across the school year. So rather than having to say, you know what, we're only going to look at standardized tests and we don't even get those scores until September, or maybe looking at hands-on scoring is very difficult, first of all, because it takes such a large amount of time to score a ton of hands-on labs, and the materials can be rather excessive. And then your administrator might not want to look at that qualitative data, right? Not just looking at your scores as far as you scoring your students. What this gives you is quality quantitative data. So you can sit down with your administrator and you can say, here's this quantitative data to show my student across the school year. So let's look at LaSalle Jackson. We could say LaSalle started out, and LaSalle was, let's move this back there. LaSalle was really struggling with constructing a claim and warranting a claim. And we really focused in on those science practices and those skills. And we've been able to help LaSalle with those. And now LaSalle has a 100, doing quite well in constructing and warranting claims. So being able to look at this information with your students, being able, go over this information if parents, if you need to show parents how their students are doing in your class, and being able to sit down with your administrator and say, these are the scores and this is what I'm working on, and we're helping these students to make real growth here. Having this information at your fingertips is incredibly valuable. And if you want to get a little bit deeper, you can go ahead and download these as a spreadsheet, as an Excel document, where you could look at all of your students in constructing claims. You could say, this is the skill that I'm going to focus on. So I hope that this has been a helpful demonstration for you. Please feel free to email me at charity@apprentice.com. If you have any questions, visit our website. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you want information on Inq-ITS. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.